What up, Dealy gang? Dealy Kamel here. Apologies for the delay on this video, and if my mic or audio sounds funny, I've been dealing with some issues in my house, so I've had to mess around with the mixing so that you can't hear the background. Anyway, today I wanted to talk about some of my ban list predictions for the post-KC Cup ban list, and in short, that's not right. These are the 4 decks that I'm going to be talking about today that I think are going to get hit in some way. Mech Knights and Goku, which I think are the main offenders of the ban list. Infernoids, which is my personal hated deck. And the Galaxy Photon, which I think is going to get the brunt of... it's just going to get hit because of how the other decks are utilizing their archetypes. So let's get into it. So for Mech Knights, I'm thinking that Mech Knight Blue Sky and World Legacy Memory have to be the cards chosen to go to 3 for the archetype to really be balanced. And this is because that these 2 cards contribute to the most to the deck's mid to late game grind game ability. Just being able to search multiple times in the duel and your opponent not really having many good ways to negate this effect. You know, the likes of Crackdown or any on summon effect can't really stop this card because its effect is on summon, so you're going to need straight up negates. And cards like Chalice have not been in the meta lately, and World Legacy Memory, simply getting, you know, your Mech Knights back from the grave is extremely strong, and both of these effects in tandem give them an even stronger grind game than Solomon Greats in most scenarios, which I think is just too strong, along with them having access to the big 3 trap cards. So I think these 2 cards will be the good ones put to 3. I was also considering putting Indigo Eclipse and Red Moon somewhere on here, but when I think about it, you know, those cards are only used at 1 respectively. So if you were to put those cards at 3, right, you would still have room for at least 1 of the trap cards. Putting these cards at 3 guarantees they will not be able to play the traps. And Ibli at 1, a lot of people believe that Mech Knights are simply too strong and they should not have access to the Ibli lock. Plus, they already have a very strong Link 1 play with the swap cleric into Link Disciples. So them losing Ibli would not really hurt the deck. It would just prevent them from having access to a toxic play that no one can really else perform. Okay, for Gokis. Now, a lot of people were debating me on stream whether I should put Headbat or Suprex at 3. And to tell you the truth, I do think that Headbat will be the better choice here, because I think that, again, the goal with limiting 3 for any of these meta decks is to prevent their usage of the trap cards. And I do think that you could, in a way, play around playing 2 Suprex. We were talking about this, where you could make your deck inherently worse by playing the main event Goki skill and allowing yourself to then play more trap cards. However, I do think that Goki Headbat is the better card to nerf here, because then you are forcing yourself to commit to the full extending play of playing into your Link 4 every single turn, instead of being able to rely on having your back row as a backup. In my opinion, Gokis have evolved as a deck past where they were 3 years ago, and they're no longer in the position where they really need back row to survive. They have an entire competent engine that allows them to go to the end of their strategy, so they don't really need to be saved by back row anymore in order to survive. So this would be a great way to force them off of the big 3 traps, which they are still using as a crutch. And putting Headbat and Octo Stretch to 3 kind of guarantees, I feel, that your total monster count in your deck will be limited. And that's something else I kind of wanted to discuss with Goki finishing move, right? A lot of people have wanted to put this card to 1, and I believe that I, in the end, have seen the reasoning for as well. However, a little counter argument I was thinking about, you know, if I were to put Octo Stretch and Headbat to 3, which I have here, you know, this is forcing you to have less monsters in your deck. That is going to make reinforcements of the army more important, since you're going to be forced to run less monsters. Well, dude, if they were to force you to run less monsters and then force you to play a finishing move over reinforcements of the army, that would be quite the hit to Gokis. Would be hitting their consistency and their inherent safety with trap cards. So something to think about. If you guys think Goku deserved that extra hit, finishing move to 1 is it's that hot take you're rooting for. All right, guys. So this is where you're going to have to allow me to be a little ignorant. Infernoids is just that deck. I really do not like it. And yes, I think Void Vanishment and Void Feast should go to 3. Now, Infernoids is a unique case. This is a deck that plays 20 archetype cards. They do not play any cards that are not Infernoid cards. So when you are nerfing a deck like this, you kind of have to account for what cards will become a part of the deck after you remove 3 cards from their list, which in this case, me putting both of these spell and trap cards would do, since they both play sets of these cards right now. And I think that one of the main threats that will arise in this deck is going to be Needle Sealing. Needle Sealing, we've seen this as a really big equalizer amongst decks that tend to play slowly, and more recently played by decks that can protect all their monsters on the field, which Infernoids can still do with Void Seer at 3. I was contemplating also putting Void Seer to 1 or 2 on this list, but I decided that, you guys would absolutely hate me for that, and it was maybe being a little too much, right? If we are to take 3 cards that support their fast engine out of this deck, then I think it would be too much to then also remove 2 copies of their protection card. But it depends on how strong Konami sees Infernoids in this meta. I don't think they did too well in the KC Cup, but they're definitely doing way better in tournaments right now. As for Decatron, the only way to decrease copies of this card right now is to put it to 2. At 3 right now, I don't know. I feel like we see it a little too much. It's coming out will be decreased as Void Feast is limited in my hypothetical scenario here anyway. But yeah, I was also considering Saitsamas to 2 as well, or Saitsamas to 3 or 1, and I think that this would remove a good mid-range like effect from Decatron, just allowing you to get Saitsamas out very early if you don't start out with either of the back row cards. But again, I found it to be a little bit too much. So yeah, what I definitely want here is going to be Void Vanishment and Void Feast, the 3. And then I think, we'll talk about what else I think is going to be needed to nerf later. But Infernoids, I think, is just, it's come onto the scene with all of its powers running at full power. And now we're going to have to see some of that dialed back a bit. Okay, so on to generic stuff. I was thinking the Galaxy Xyz package and Needle Sealing. Now, the Galaxy Xyz package, I think putting these 2 cards to 3, Galaxy Cypher Dragon and Full Armor Photon Dragon to 3, is going to be the best bet here. Now, the thing is, this is going to make this Xyz package much easier to snipe, because once these cards go to 3, you will absolutely know that your opponent will only have 1 Galaxy Eyes Cypher Dragon, so you'll know which card you need to remove in order to prevent them from playing any further. Then they won't be able to rank up into their Full Armor Photon Dragon. But limiting these cards would hurt Galaxy Eyes the least. I was considering putting Cypher Blade here to 3 as well. That way you can make multiple Cypher Dragon to start your combo up again. However, for people that actually do want to see Galaxy Eyes get some sort of nerf, I do think that this would be it, right? Telegraphing that you are making Galaxy Eyes Cypher Dragon, and that this is your best way to rank up and also get pop effects. Knowing your opponent knowing that they have to remove this monster because you are likely only playing 1 of them is very good, because it hurts the decks that are just splashing this archetype into their extra deck much more than it hurts Galaxy Eyes. Of course, Galaxy Eyes have multiple ways to get into the Full Armor Photon Dragon, so it won't be hurting them as much. This is mainly also going to be hurting Mech Knights, since they won't just be able to freely go into this whenever they want. And I want Needle Sealing here as well. Galaxy Eyes has picked up Needle Sealing as of late, just to fill out their lists to play against, Mech Knights and some of these other decks that are just able to destroy more at once than them and do more on their opponent's turn. Needle Sealing is going to be end up removed from the Galaxy Eyes list if I put it to 3 along with these extra deck cards. So let me know what you think about that. I don't think that Galaxy Eyes needs a huge nerf. However, me putting Needle Sealing at 3 and putting the Galaxy Eyes package at 3 so that other decks can't use it is going to remove this card from Galaxy Eyes' potential card pool. So you're going to have to let me know what you think about that. Okay, and as for skills, well, Konami usually separates their skill and card updates as of late, but all I can think of was Monster Move, man. Select a monster you control and move it to another of your main monster zones. If you select a monster in the extra monster zone, move it to your main monster zone in the same column once per turn. And yeah, I think that is the big problem with the skill. It's only once per turn, and there's no per duel limit. So make this thing twice per duel, man. It does not need to be unlimited times per duel, once per turn. We've already seen that when you do not have the game populated with multiple decks that can utilize the columns to their advantage, then one deck ends up dominating the columns and none other can really take advantage of it. So Mech Knights are absolutely slamming on every other deck right now because of Monster Move. Of course, a great majority of people are still using the Ties That Bind, and they will just return to using the Ties That Bind if the Monster Move would, to be nerfed. However, I think Monster Move does overall give you more of an advantage if you don't see just bonus attack points as, that inherent of, a plus. And other decks just cannot plus off of this right now, and Mech Knights can. So, yeah, that's going to be it for me, guys. Let me know what are your ban list predictions. Tomorrow, I'm going to be putting out a video on what the Discord thinks about their ban list predictions. So, yeah, we're going to get the discussion going. Peace out, guys. I'll talk to you later.